My beloved child, in this sacred moment where time seems to pause and eternity whispers your name, I need you to know something with absolute certainty. You have not stumbled upon these words by accident. This is not a random encounter in the endless scroll of information that floods your days. No, precious one. This is a divine appointment orchestrated before you even woke up this morning, before you even realized the questions that were burning in your heart, before you even knew you needed to hear what I am about to tell you. I have been waiting for you here, in this quiet space where my voice can finally reach past the noise, past the anxiety, past the desperate need for answers that has been consuming you. I see you, beloved. I see you in the middle of the night, when sleep refuses to come because your mind is racing through every possible scenario, calculating every potential outcome, trying to figure out what comes next. I see you pacing, planning, plotting out your future like a general preparing for battle, desperately seeking the details that you believe will give you security. I see you paralyzed at crossroads, unable to move forward because you cannot see the entire path laid out before you. I see you postponing obedience because you are demanding details, and I understand, precious one. I understand your fear. I understand your need to feel in control. I understand why you think that if you just had all the information, all the answers, all the specifics about what comes next, then you could finally take that first step. But I am here today to tell you something that will challenge everything you think you need. I am here to reveal a principle that will revolutionize your walk with me if you will receive it. If you will let it sink deep into the soil of your spirit where transformation takes root. Here it is, beloved, and I need you to hear this clearly, to let these words penetrate the walls you have built around your heart. Details follow obedience, not the other way around. Not obedience following details. Not you getting to see the full picture before you move. Not me laying out the entire blueprint before you lift a finger. Details follow obedience. First comes trust, then comes revelation. First comes the step, then comes the path. First comes your yes, then come my specifics. I know this is not what you want to hear. I know every fiber of your being is crying out for the opposite. Show me the path, and then I will walk it. Give me the details, and then I will obey. Let me see where this is going, and then I will trust you. But precious one, if I operated that way, you would never grow. You would never develop the kind of faith that moves mountains. You would never discover the depth of trust that transforms ordinary people into extraordinary vessels of my glory. You would remain forever in the shallow waters of comfort and control, never venturing into the depths where miracles happen and purposes unfold. Pastor Stephen Furtick teaches this principle with such clarity, such passion, because he has lived it. He has walked the road where obedience came before details, where trust preceded clarity, where the step of faith was taken before the path was visible. And as I speak to you through his teaching, as I use his words to illuminate this truth, I want you to understand that this is not just a principle for pastors or leaders or people in full-time ministry. This is a principle for you, right where you are, in whatever situation you are facing, at whatever crossroads has you frozen in fear and indecision. Let me take you deeper into this truth, beloved. Let me show you why I operate this way, why I designed your journey with me to unfold step by step rather than all at once. You see, if I gave you all the details up front, if I showed you the entire path before you took the first step, several things would happen that would actually hinder your growth rather than help it. First, you would be overwhelmed. The human mind, in all its beauty and complexity, was not designed to carry the weight of knowing everything that is coming. You struggle to manage today's anxieties. Imagine if you had to carry tomorrow's challenges, next week's trials, next month's tests, next year's transitions, all at the same time. You would crumble under the weight of it. This is why I teach you to pray for daily bread, not yearly provision all at once. This is why I invite you to trust me one day at a time, one moment at a time, one step at a time. Second, if I gave you all the details, you would rely on your understanding instead of leaning on me. You would analyze instead of trusting. You would calculate instead of believing. You would plan instead of surrendering. And in that process, you would miss the most beautiful aspect of walking with me, which is the intimate dependence that develops when you have to hold my hand through territory you cannot navigate alone. Pastor Stephen Furtick illustrates this so powerfully when he calls someone to the stage without giving them any details about what he needs them for or how long they will be there. The person comes immediately, trusts completely, obeys without questions. And only after they obey does the purpose become clear. Only after they step forward do they understand what they were called for. This is the pattern I have established throughout all of Scripture, throughout all of history, throughout all of time. Obedience first, then understanding. Trust first, then clarity. The step first, then the path. Think about Abraham, beloved. When I called him to leave his country, his people, his father's household, and go to a land I would show him, I did not give him GPS coordinates. I did not provide a detailed itinerary. I did not hand him a map with the route marked out. I simply said, go, and I will show you. And because Abraham obeyed without having all the details, he became the father of faith, the one through whom all nations would be blessed. Think about Moses standing before the Red Sea with the Egyptian army closing in behind him. I did not give him a 3-point plan with bullet points about how the escape would unfold. I simply told him to stretch out his staff and move forward. And when he obeyed without seeing how it would work, the sea parted and millions of people walked through on dry ground. Think about David, whose story Pastor Stephen Furtick unpacks with such insight and revelation. When Samuel came to anoint the next king of Israel, I did not give him all the details. I told him to fill his horn with oil and go to Jesse's house, and I would show him who to anoint when he got there. Samuel had to take the first step without knowing which son it would be. Jesse lined up 7 of his sons, and each time Samuel thought he had found the one, I said no, not this one, not the tallest, not the strongest, not the most impressive by human standards. And after all 7 had been rejected, Samuel had to ask if there were any more sons. Oh yes, there is one more, but surely you would not be interested in him. He is just a boy. He is out with the sheep. He smells like a barnyard. He is no king material. But I said, bring him. I will not sit down until he arrives. And when David came, the smallest, the youngest, the least likely by every human measure, I said, this is the one. Not because of his height, but because of his heart. Do you see the pattern, beloved? Do you see how I work? I do not give details until there is obedience. I do not reveal the full picture until there is trust. I do not download the blueprint until there is surrender. And this is not because I enjoy keeping you in suspense. This is not because I am withholding good things from you. This is not because I lack the power or the willingness to show you everything all at once. I do this because I love you too much to let you stay in a place where your faith is never stretched, where your trust is never tested, where your dependence on me is never deepened. I do this because the journey with me is not ultimately about the destination. It is about who you become along the way. It is about the transformation that happens in the waiting, in the trusting, in the obeying before you can see. Pastor Stephen Furtick shares his own story of planting Elevation Church, and it is a perfect illustration of this principle. When he told his wife Holly that he believed they would start a church one day, he thought it would happen when he was about 45 years old. He had a plan. He had a timeline. He had details, all worked out in his mind. But then Holly said, your thoughts are too many. God wants to do it now. And Stephen Furtick had questions. What about the children's ministry? What about the business side? What about the people we need? Where are we going to do it? All legitimate questions, all reasonable concerns, all details that seemed essential to have before taking the step. But the details did not come before the obedience. They came after. They followed the yes. They unfolded as he moved forward in trust. And here is what amazes me about Pastor Stephen Furtick's testimony, beloved, and what I want you to see in your own life. When he started the church, he thought too small. He looked at a building that seated 200 people and thought it would last them 5 years. 5 years. That was his plan. That was his vision. That was as big as he could imagine based on what he had seen, where he came from, the pictures in his mind of what was possible. But my thoughts are not your thoughts. My ways are not your ways. As high as the heavens are above the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. What Pastor Stephen Furtick thought would take 5 years to outgrow happened in 5 months. Not because he was so talented or gifted or special, but because his obedience positioned him to receive what I had already planned, what I had already prepared, what I had always intended but could not give him until he said yes without knowing all the details. This is what I am trying to help you understand today, precious one. Your thoughts are too many. Your plans are too small. Your pictures are too limited. You are organizing your life based on what you have seen. But what you have seen is not all that there is to the purpose I have for you. You are making plans based on the ceiling of the generation before you. But what if their ceiling is your floor? You are calculating possibilities based on past experiences. But what if I want to do something new, something you have never seen before? Something that requires you to let go of your need for details and simply trust me with the outcome? Let me speak directly to the situation you are facing right now, beloved, because I know it. I see it. I understand it better than you understand it yourself. You are standing at a crossroads. You have been standing there for longer than you care to admit. You are stuck because you are demanding details before you obey. You are frozen because you want to see the entire path before you take the first step. You are paralyzed because you believe that if you just had more information, more clarity, more specifics, then you could finally move forward with confidence. But here is what you need to understand. The confidence you are seeking does not come from having all the details. The confidence you need comes from knowing me, from trusting my character, from believing that I am good even when the path is unclear, especially when the path is unclear. Many are the plans in a person's heart. Do you hear that, beloved? Many are the plans, plural, multiple, numerous, conflicting, competing. Your heart is full of plans right now. Plans for how this relationship should unfold. Plans for how your career should develop. Plans for how your finances should improve. Plans for how your family should look. Plans for what should happen next. Plans upon plans upon plans. And some of those plans are from me, but many of them are from you, from your flesh, from your fears, from your need for control, from your desperate attempt to write your own story instead of letting me author it. But notice what the scripture says. Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. Plans, plural. Purpose, singular. You have many plans, but I have one purpose, and my purpose is higher than all your plans. My purpose is wiser than all your strategies. My purpose is better than all your best-laid schemes. But you will never discover my purpose if you insist on clinging to all your plans. You will never experience the fullness of what I have for you if you demand to have every detail figured out before you move. Pastor Stephen Furtick teaches that when David stood before the people to share the plans for the temple, he said, "All this I have in writing as a result of the Lord's hand on me, not as a result of his own brilliance, not as a result of his strategic planning, not as a result of him figuring it all out in his head." The answer was not in his head. The answer was in my hand upon him. And this is where you have been stuck, beloved. You have been living in your head when you need to be living under my hand. You have been trying to figure it all out when you need to surrender to me working it all out. You have been analyzing, calculating, strategizing, planning, when you need to be trusting, obeying, moving, following. Here is what I want you to understand about David's journey, precious one, because it holds keys for your own. David was anointed as king when he was just a boy, probably a teenager. The prophet Samuel poured oil on his head and declared that he would be the next king of Israel. But David did not become king the next day. He did not receive a throne the next week. He did not get detailed instructions about when and how his kingship would unfold. Instead, he went back to the sheep, back to the fields, back to obscurity, back to serving his father and caring for animals and doing the mundane, ordinary, seemingly insignificant work that no one noticed or celebrated. And in that season, in that long gap between the anointing and the appointing, between the promise and the fulfillment, between the word spoken and the word manifested, David learned something essential. He learned to trust me without needing all the details. He learned to believe my promises even when circumstances seemed to contradict them. He learned to walk by faith and not by sight, to hear my voice above all other voices, to follow me even when the path made no sense from a human perspective. And when the time came for him to face Goliath, he was not sent as a fighter. He was sent as a servant bringing food to his brothers. He had no details about the battle that would define his life. He had no warning that this would be the day everything changed. He simply showed up in obedience to his father's request. And when he got there, I showed him what to do. This is how I work, beloved. This is the pattern of my interaction with my children. I give you enough light for the next step, not the whole journey. I provide enough grace for today, not for next year. I download one instruction at a time, not the entire manual. And I do this because each step of obedience prepares you for the next download. Each act of trust positions you for the next revelation. Each moment of surrender opens your capacity to receive what is coming next. You cannot handle the details of chapter 10 when you are still in chapter 3. You cannot bear the weight of the full vision when you have not yet been faithful with the current assignment. You cannot receive the blueprint for the building when you have not yet cleared the land. And here is what Pastor Stephen Furtick makes so clear, beloved, and what I am confirming to you today. If you are fighting hell right now in your mind, if you are battling anxiety, panic attacks, temptations, doubts, fears, confusion, there is something heaven is trying to download that hell is trying to interfere with. Let me say that again, because it is crucial that you understand this. If you are experiencing spiritual warfare in your thought life right now, it is not random, it is not meaningless. It is not proof that you are weak or faithless or far from me. It is evidence that I am trying to download something significant into your spirit. And the enemy is doing everything he can to interrupt the transmission, to block the connection, to prevent you from receiving what I am sending. The battle always happens at the place of the blueprint. The interference always intensifies when the download is about to occur. The static gets louder when the signal is trying to come through. So if you are in a mental battle right now, do not despair. Do not give up. Do not assume it means I have abandoned you or that you are doing something wrong. It might actually mean the opposite. It might mean you are on the verge of a breakthrough. It might mean I am about to reveal something to you that will change everything. It might mean you are closer than you have ever been to receiving the details you have been asking for, but first you must obey. First, you must trust. First, you must take the step without seeing the entire staircase. Let me address something that might be troubling your heart right now, precious one. You might be thinking, but God, I have been obedient. I have been trying to follow you. I have been taking steps of faith. And yet I still do not have the details I need. I still do not have clarity about what comes next. I still do not know how this is going to work out. And I hear you, beloved. I hear the frustration in your voice. I feel the weariness in your spirit. I see the tears you have cried in the waiting. But let me show you something about David's story that will encourage you and give you hope. David had a disappointment. A significant disappointment that could have derailed everything if he had allowed it. David wanted to build the temple. It was his dream. It was his vision. It was his heart's desire to construct a house for my presence, a permanent dwelling place for my glory, instead of the tent where the ark had been kept for so long. And I gave him the desire. I put the dream in his heart. I downloaded the vision into his spirit. But then I said, no, you will not be the one to build it. Your son will build it. You can gather the materials. You can make the preparations. You can draw up the plans. But you will not see the completion. You will not experience the fulfillment. You will not get the credit for the finished product. Now, many people in that situation would have become bitter. Many would have given up. Many would have said, what was the point of the vision if I do not get to see it completed? What was the purpose of the download if I do not get to experience the outcome? But David did not do that. David did not let his disappointment interrupt the download. He continued to seek me. He continued to worship me. He continued to trust me. And because he maintained his obedience even without getting all the details he wanted, even without seeing the fulfillment he desired, I gave him something more valuable than the building. I gave him the complete blueprint. I gave him every detail. I gave him the plans not just for the building, but for the worship, for the organization, for the priestly duties, for every aspect of how the temple would function. All this, David said, I have in writing as a result of the Lord's hand on me. Do you see what happened there, beloved? David's obedience without details in the beginning positioned him to receive comprehensive details at the end. His willingness to trust me when he could not see the full picture qualified him to receive the full picture when the time was right. His faithfulness in the waiting prepared him to carry the weight of the revelation. And this is what I am doing in your life right now. This season of not having all the details, this time of trusting without seeing, this experience of obeying before understanding, it is not punishment, it is preparation. It is not me withholding from you. It is me getting you ready to receive what you could not handle before. Pastor Stephen Furtick talks about how David was a man of many thoughts. He wrote at least 150 psalms, probably many more that were not recorded. He wrestled with anxiety. He battled depression. He struggled with doubt. He fought with his mind. And through all of that wrestling, through all of that struggling, through all of those battles in his thought life, I was forming him, shaping him, preparing him to be the kind of person I could hand my plans to. Because when I hand you my plans, you have to be someone who will execute them with excellence. You have to be someone who will honor them with integrity. You have to be someone who will protect them with wisdom. And that kind of person is not formed in comfort. That kind of character is not developed in ease. That kind of faith is not built when you have all the answers. It is built in the waiting. It is forged in the trusting. It is developed in the obeying without seeing. So if you are in that place right now, beloved, if you are wrestling with thoughts, battling anxiety, struggling with doubt, wondering where I am and why I am not giving you the details you think you need, I want you to hear me clearly. You are not going crazy. You are being called. The battle in your mind is not evidence of my absence. It is evidence that I am downloading something significant. And the enemy is trying to interfere because he knows what is coming. He knows what I am about to reveal to you. He knows what I am about to release through you. And he is terrified. So he is doing everything he can to keep you stuck in your head instead of walking under my hand. But I am telling you today, it is time to move. It is time to step. It is time to obey without having all the details. Because the details will follow your obedience. The clarity will come after the trust. The path will appear when you start walking. This is not just a nice principle, beloved. This is the pattern I have established throughout all of Scripture and throughout all of history. Abraham had to leave his country before I showed him the land. Moses had to stretch out his staff before the sea parted. Joshua had to march around Jericho before the walls fell. David had to face Goliath with just a sling and some stones before I gave him the kingdom. Peter had to step out of the boat before he could walk on water. And you, precious one, you have to obey with what you know before I reveal what you do not know. Let me speak to the specific area where you are demanding details right now. Maybe it is a relationship, and you are saying, God, I need to know how this is going to turn out before I have the conversation. Or maybe it is a career decision, and you are saying, God, I need to see the entire path before I take the job or leave the job or start the business. Or maybe it is a financial situation, and you are saying, God, I need to know how you are going to provide before I step out in faith with the giving or the investment or the sacrifice. Or maybe it is a ministry calling, and you are saying, God, I need to have all the resources, all the people, all the support in place before I move forward. And in every case, beloved, my answer is the same. Take the first step. Do what I have already told you to do. Obey what you already know. Move forward with what I have already revealed. And watch how the details follow your obedience. Watch how the path appears as you walk. Watch how the provision comes as you move. Watch how the people show up when you step out. Watch how the clarity increases as you trust. This is how I work. This has always been how I work. This will always be how I work. Not because I enjoy keeping you in the dark, but because I am developing your faith, deepening your trust, and preparing you to handle what is coming next. Pastor Stephen Furtick teaches that many are the plans in a person's heart, and this is so true. You have so many plans right now, so many ideas about how things should go, so many pictures in your mind of what success looks like, so many voices telling you what you should do and how you should do it and when you should do it. But here is what you need to understand, beloved. Your pain and my plans are in the same heart. Just like there are multiple apps on your phone and you choose which one to open, there are multiple voices in your heart and you choose which one to listen to. The enemy has a plan that he is trying to hatch in your heart. I have a purpose that I am trying to establish in your life. And the plan the enemy wants to hatch in your heart has to bow its knee to the purpose I speak into your life. But you have to make a choice. You have to decide which voice you are going to follow. Are you going to follow the voice of fear that demands details before trust? Or are you going to follow my voice that calls you to obedience before clarity? Are you going to insist on seeing the entire path before you move? Or are you going to trust that I see the path even when you cannot? Are you going to remain frozen at the crossroads until you have every answer? Or are you going to take the first step in faith, believing that I am with you, that I am for you, that I am guiding you even when you cannot sense my hand? Here is what I promise you, beloved. And this is a promise you can stake your life on. When you obey without details, when you trust without seeing, when you move forward in faith, I will not let you fail. I will not let you fall. I will not abandon you to figure it out on your own. My hand will be on you. My spirit will guide you. My presence will sustain you. And step by step, detail by detail, revelation by revelation, I will show you more than you ever imagined, more than you ever dreamed, more than you ever thought possible. But it starts with the first step. It starts with the obedience. It starts with you saying yes to what I have already told you to do, even if you do not have all the information about what comes next. It starts with you forgiving that person before you know how it will turn out. It starts with you having that conversation before you can see the outcome. It starts with you making that decision before you have all the facts. It starts with you taking that risk before you have all the assurances. It starts with you stepping out before you see the net, because the net appears when you step. The details follow when you obey. The path unfolds when you walk. And here is what you will discover, precious one. When you begin to live this way, when you start to operate on this principle, when you choose obedience over certainty, you will discover that I am more faithful than you ever knew. You will experience my provision in ways you never expected. You will see my guidance in places you never looked. You will encounter my presence in moments you thought you were alone. You will witness my power in situations you thought were impossible. And you will look back on this season of not having all the details and realize it was the season that transformed you, that deepened you, that prepared you for everything that came after. This is what Pastor Stephen Furtick discovered when he obeyed without details. This is what David learned when he trusted without seeing. This is what every person of faith throughout history has experienced when they said yes to me without demanding to know how it would all work out. And this is what you will experience too, beloved, if you will make the choice today to obey, if you will decide right now to trust, if you will commit in this moment to move forward even without having all the answers. I am not asking you to be reckless. I am not calling you to be foolish. I am not telling you to ignore wisdom or throw caution to the wind or make decisions without any thought or prayer. What I am asking you to do is stop letting your need for details become an excuse for disobedience. Stop allowing your demand for certainty to keep you stuck in the same place. Stop using the lack of complete information as a reason to refuse the step I have clearly called you to take. Because the truth is, beloved, you know what I want you to do next. Deep down, beneath all the questions and the fears and the rationalizations, you know the Spirit has been speaking to you. The Word has been illuminating the path. My voice has been calling you. You just do not like that the call comes without all the details. You just wish I would give you more information before asking for your obedience. But I am telling you today, through these words, through the teaching of Pastor Stephen Furtick, through the still small voice that is echoing in your spirit right now, details follow obedience. Not the other way around. Not ever the other way around. You take the step, then I show the path. You say yes, then I reveal the plan. You obey, then I download the details. This is the order. This has always been the order. This will always be the order. And fighting against this order, resisting this principle, demanding that I operate differently, it only keeps you stuck, frustrated, confused, and separated from the breakthrough that is waiting for you on the other side of your obedience. So here is what I am inviting you to do right now, in this moment. As you finish reading these words and feel my presence stirring something deep within you, I am inviting you to identify the one thing I have already told you to do, the one step I have already called you to take, the one act of obedience that you have been postponing because you want more details. Maybe it is forgiveness. Maybe it is a conversation. Maybe it is an application. Maybe it is a decision. Maybe it is a sacrifice. Maybe it is a surrender. Whatever it is, you know what it is. And I am asking you today to do it, to take that step, to offer that obedience, to say that yes, without waiting for all the details, without demanding to see the entire outcome, without insisting on having every question answered first. And as you do, as you move forward in trust, as you step out in faith, watch what I do. Watch how the details begin to follow. Watch how the path begins to appear. Watch how the clarity begins to increase. Watch how the provision begins to arrive. Watch how the people begin to show up. Watch how the doors begin to open. Watch how the pieces begin to fall into place. Not all at once, not in one dramatic moment, but step by step, day by day, obedience by obedience, trust by trust, as you continue to walk with me, to lean on me, to depend on me, to follow me, even when you cannot see where we are going. This is the life I am calling you to, beloved. This is the walk of faith that transforms ordinary people into world changers. This is the journey of trust that takes you from the sheep fields to the palace, from obscurity to influence, from insignificance to impact. But it requires that you let go of your need to have all the details before you move. It requires that you release your demand for certainty before you trust. It requires that you surrender your insistence on seeing the whole path before you take the first step. And I promise you, precious one, I promise you with all the faithfulness of my eternal heart, when you do this, when you choose obedience over details, when you prioritize trust over certainty, When you value my presence more than complete information, you will discover a depth of relationship with me that you never knew was possible. You will experience a level of peace that transcends understanding. You will walk in a dimension of power that defies explanation. You will live in a realm of purpose that exceeds your wildest dreams, because you will no longer be limited by what you can see, plan, control, or understand. You will be empowered by what I can do, guided by where I want to lead, sustained by who I am. This is your invitation, beloved. This is your moment. This is your opportunity to step into the life I have always intended for you. The journey I have been calling you toward, the purpose that has been waiting for your obedience. Do not let another day pass by refusing to move because you do not have all the details. Do not waste another moment stuck at the crossroads demanding to see the entire map. Take the first step. Do what I have already told you to do. Obey what you already know. Trust what I have already revealed. And watch, just watch, how the details follow. Watch how the path unfolds. Watch how the purpose prevails. Watch how my hand upon you makes all the difference. I am with you, beloved. Every step, every moment, every breath, whether you can see me or not, whether you have the details or not, whether you understand or not, I am with you. My hand is upon you, my spirit is within you, my love surrounds you. And when you obey, when you trust, when you move forward in faith, I will show you things you never imagined, take you places you never dreamed, and accomplish through you purposes that will echo into eternity. This is my promise. This is my commitment. This is who I am. And it all begins with your yes, with your obedience, with your step of faith today, right now, without all the details. Because the details, precious one, they will follow. They always do. Amen.